This is my 2017 Thor Chateau, and this is my, I guess, pre-recorded walkthrough if you are doing a contactless pickup and return. So we're going to start on the exterior of this motorhome, and I will explain to you everything that is on there that needs to be known. First off is this compartment here. This one is typically empty. It's got the park cable inside of it for hooking up cable TV if you're at a campground. You can put anything you want in there. You have your exterior electrical outlets right here, which require the camper to be plugged in or the generator to be running. Right here you have your refrigerator and your furnace outlets. Those are controlled from the inside. Come back around to the back side of the motorhome, you have your spare tire. And your main storage compartment is right here. Inside your storage compartment you do have a tire iron, you do have your water hose. Don't always have wood in there, but if I have some, I'll put it in there for you. And sometimes camping chairs, available on request. The hiding spot for the keys is in this control, or this lock box right here. So I will give you the code once I receive the paperwork that is necessary to release the motorhome to you. And down here is the sewage outlet. Okay, so I'll show you where the sewage hose is here in just a minute, but you would take the sewage hose and attach it onto here and give it a twist. And you notice there's two valves. There's this one right here, which is a larger valve, and there's another one here, which is a smaller one. In order to activate these valves, you pull out on these plungers. They pull straight out, and they push straight back in. When you're doing this, you always want to do the black one first, this big one. That's the toilet water. That's the nasty stuff. The smaller valve here is all the soapy water from the sinks and from the shower. You do that last because it washes everything out and kind of makes it somewhat clean. The sewage hose is right here inside of the bumper. You pull that out and you leave the other end inside the sewer, and then you hook this part to the outlet pipe. And it's just underneath this black cap here that pulls right off. See? All right, further down the line, we have your regular unleaded fuel. And then we also have your cable TV hookup right here. This is where your fresh water is filled with the hose that I showed you in the storage compartment. When you're filling these, you must monitor them. You stick the hose inside the end here, and you have to listen to it. Water will start to come out of here when it's full, but you should hear it before then. You don't want to leave the hose in there unattended, because when it pressurizes the system, it can actually blow out and cause damage. So you basically use this water for showering and washing hands and whatnot, but you would not drink this water or cook with this water. For that, you would need to use bottled water. That is the only safe way to do it, because I have no control over who puts what inside my tanks. If you are at a campground, you have this city water connection right here. You screw the garden hose into here, and you can turn that on, and it will bypass your freshwater tank, and that'll be your main water supply. You have a low point drain right here, which usually you just use for winterizing and draining the system, but you can also use it to to wash your feet, or if you need some water for your dog or something like that. This next compartment here has a little access flip right here, and you can pull it out. And typically you can get the the electrical cable out right here without actually unlocking the box. You got both adapters here. They got the main one here, and then you can plug this adapter in right here for your regular outlets at a campground. Sorry about that. Don't have anyone to videotape me doing this, so I'm not a professional by any means. If you need to get on the inside here, just the regular key, and then you can get more access to the wiring back here. There's quite a bit of it, so you should have no problem hooking it up at a campground or anywhere else for that matter. This compartment right here is for my generator. The generator is controlled from the inside, so you don't need to see anything there. This compartment here is the hot water heater outlet. That is controlled from the inside of the motorhome, so that is not necessary to it's not necessary to know anything about it out here. The compartment right here is your propane tank. Okay, you'll notice that it doesn't quite read full, even though it is full. That's normal. Most of these don't work, but typically this will last you a week, and when you're done with the trip, you just pull up and have them refill you at one of the gas stations. The propane in the motorhomes are for the heater, it's for the refrigerator, and it's for the stove. The generator itself runs on the motorhome's fuel tank until it gets down to about a quarter of a tank, and then it will starve the generator for fuel. Okay, on the inside of the motorhome here, two things worth noticing. This emergency start button right here, right above the parking brake. The parking brake's right here. If for whatever reason your main engine battery is dead, you can press and hold this button and it'll use it to jump start it from the motorhome battery. You can also jump start the motorhome batteries from the engine battery from here as well. The other thing to notice on these RVs that I rent is I have these motion sensitive solar paneled tire pressure monitor systems. They're pretty easy to read. You'll notice that the tire pressure will fluctuate by about 10 pounds as you're driving, and that's normal. You have nothing to worry about unless you see one going lower than the rest dramatically, or if they start to hit the 50 pounds per square inch for some reason. If for whatever reason the solar charging fails and this starts to beep at you for a low battery, there's a negative button right here on the back that you can press and hold, and if you do that, it'll shut this thing off so you don't have to listen to it. The other thing that's a little different on this truck is the radio. The radio is running on the motorhome battery, not on the truck battery. So if I go and start the truck like you normally do, normally the radio would turn on in a regular vehicle. That is not the case with this one, unless you put it in reverse. See, if you put it in reverse, it gets a signal from the reverse to turn on the camera so that you can have a backup camera going there. The reason why I'm showing you this is when you shut the motorhome off, like I just did, the radio will not turn itself off. You can open the outside door, radio stays on. You have to turn the radio off or it'll drain your coach battery. Press and hold the power button. Powering off. So, just something to keep in mind. These ports right here were for the factory radio, which unfortunately burnt itself out. If I remove those, it'll just be an empty hole, so I just left them there, but these do not work. The radio itself does have a USB port. It's also Bluetooth, so these are not necessary. You also have your regular outlets here for charging. This is just a blank, it does nothing. So we're going to continue on to the inside of the vehicle here. The first thing I'm going to show you is the slide out. In order for the slide out to work, two requirements must be met. The engine must be off, and your parking brake down here must be set. Okay? It's important that you also remember to remove the parking brake. Get some light down there. Yeah, to set the parking brake. But it's also important that you remove the parking brake once you take off so that you're not burning up the parking brake. So once that's set, you can come back here and you have two switches. This one right here, this is your slide out switch. You press and hold extend. Once it's done going out, it'll automatically stop. You do not have to worry about it going too far. Okay, so the slide out is now fully extended. And once it is, you can just flip the mattress down. And you have your queen size bed. Your queen short bed, sorry, I should say. Also inside here we have a electrical outlet. You can see these cables are kind of loose from that outlet. But this outlet only works if you have your generator on or your shore power plugged in. Same with all of the outlets in this motorhome. You have a light switch right here. You have your thermostatic control right here. Click it on, slide it over to whichever setting you desire. Once you do, the furnace kicks on automatically and will maintain the heat in the motorhome. You can usually run this for a night or two without having to worry about recharging the batteries depending on your use. To shut it off, you click it to the off position. Inside the bathroom, you got your light switch. And your toilet on this motorhome is a foot pedal operated one, right here. So you press and hold the flush. If you want to add water to the system, you just hold the pedal down slightly. You always want to make sure that there is some water in the toilet. That is what seals the odor into the toilet and doesn't allow it into the camper. On that note, there is a roof vent right here. It does have a vent fan with power switch right here. It's important for two reasons to close this while you're driving. The first one is that it will rip the vent lid off. The second reason is because it will actually suck odors from the septic tank into the motorhome, regardless of having water in the toilet, which nobody likes. So we have a shower here. It's pretty normal operation. It's simply turn on, turn off. My water pump is not on, that's why it's not working. But that is all that there is to that. Typically we'll have your towels inside the mirror cover here, and a roll of toilet paper for you here. It's important to note that the door will hit the curtain here, so you gotta be careful not to open the door too far. All right, onto the refrigerator. So this is a freezer refrigerator combo. I leave these in the auto position. So if it's in the auto position, what this does is the refrigerator will detect if it's got electrical. If it's got electrical, it will work with electric. If it does not sense electricity, it will light the propane and it will use propane. It's extremely efficient on propane and cools better on propane. So when you get the refrigerator, when it's on auto, you don't have to touch it. It'll do exactly what it needs to when it needs to do it. I'm going to turn it off for now. You do have your temperature controls here. This one I typically leave on setting 5. You do have locks on here. Must pull these out in order to open. Two things that are important in here. First one is your thermostat. The higher up in the refrigerator it is on this metal thing, the colder it will be. It's good to leave it exactly where it's at. It seems to be good where it is. The other one, actually this one you cannot remove, so you don't have to worry about the drip tray. You don't have to worry about any of that. The microwave requires the generator or shore power to be hooked up in order for it to work. Same thing with the air conditioning. There's a vent hood light and fan. If you're cooking anything, please use the vent fan. The stove itself is a simple quick ignition. This guy right here. Same thing back there. Nothing fancy. The oven does not ignite with the striker. In order to light the oven, you must use this switch right here. You set it to pilot light. Once it's on pilot light, you press and hold this in. Sorry. There's usually a lighter in here for this. I'll have to add one back into here. But in the bottom here, and you're not going to be able to see it in here, but if you look in the back there, you will see that there is a place to light the pilot light when you're holding down the pilot button right here. And once you have it lit, you can then set your temperature and it will light the oven. Before you take off, you want to make sure it goes back into the off position. That way it'll prevent any issues with gas coming into the motorhome. Inside the cabinets here, I'm going to turn on a light here really quick. That's much better. Inside the cabinet here, we have your cups, your plates, your bowls, pans, that sort of thing. Down here we have your scrubber brush and your soap. We have your can openers, scissors, dish towels. We have all your silverware, knives, spatulas, measuring cups. And we have a tea kettle and a toaster. This upper bed here converts simply by pulling this guy down into position like that. It's actually an 8-foot sleeping surface, which is kind of nice. The ladder, which stays right here, connects into the top here so that you have a ladder to climb up to the bunk without climbing on the seat back here. Get the light turned on in here too. All right, so up here we have the television. The television does require the generator or the shore power to be connected. And there is a twist knob right here that you can undo so that the TV swivels out, and you can lock it into place so that people can watch it while they're driving. The table bed. 2 steps to that. You got to pull these cushions up out of the way because the table is going to sit on this ledge right here. I'm not talented enough to hold the camera, hold the seats up, and convert the bed at the same time. So pretend that these cushions are up out of the way. Underneath the table, there's this lock bar. You flip it over, and once you do, you can push the table down. If the seat cushions were out of the way, it would have went into place on either side, and you would then slide the cushions forward and you would have a cushioned bed. To reverse the process, again, I apologize, hard to show you one-handed here. You just pick up the table and then lock it back in place underneath. All right, this is your main control unit. I'm gonna open the, hopefully that gives you a little bit more light there. This is your main control panel, not unit, sorry. Generator control is right here. You press start. The generator fires up. It is on an auto switch, which means it doesn't start working right away. You have to watch the microwave here. You don't have to watch it. But once it lights up, there'll be a beep, and that'll be your cue that it is fully functional, and that the, yeah, there you go. Now it's switched over, and it is now using the generator as a power source. To stop the generator, simply press the stop button. If for some reason you run the motor home below 1/4 of a tank of fuel, sometimes the generator loses its fuel prime. If that happens, you press and hold the stop button for about 10 seconds. This light will light up, and what that means is it's priming the fuel pump for the generator. Once you've held it for 10 seconds, simply press and hold the start button again. Sometimes you have to repeat that 2 or 3 times for it to fire up, but it will fire up. So here is your water pump. Now it's pressurized up. I usually leave this on. That way, if you are not using the water system and you still hear the pump run every once in a while, it tells me that there's a leak somewhere and I need to fix it. The hot water heater on here runs on propane, or if your generator's running or you're hooked up to shore power and you want to use power or electricity, you can. If you use the propane, well, it lit too fast. But this light will light up red, and after about 3 seconds, the hot water heater will light up, and this will go out. This light should be off. If it's off, that means you got hot water. It takes about 10 minutes for it to warm up. You can leave that on, or you can leave it off. Up here we have our test buttons for the levels. You can see that your propane is full. So you got empty, you got 1/3, 2/3, and full. Your coach battery, it's not reading full right now because I have the lights on. In order for this to read accurate, you have to have everything turned off. If you have everything turned off and it's down to 1/3 like this, that's a good time to start charging your batteries. They're deep cycle batteries, not run completely dead batteries. So running it dead will actually eventually kill my batteries. So feel free to use a generator as much as you like to keep that charged up. I do not charge overages for my generator use. The black tank. This might startle you. I see it already changed. Most of the time, black tanks are inaccurate. They do not read properly, and that is because stuff gets stuck to the sensors, and you know, unless you clean them after every rental, which if you've ever done that, I'm sure you would understand not doing it every time. I do it once a season. This does fluctuate. Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not accurate, but most of the time it reads, you know, between 1/3 and 2/3 full. Don't worry about it. If you really want to know if your black tank's getting full, you can flush the toilet and shine a light down there and see what's inside of it. But you will not fill up the black tank on your trip unless you've rented it for a month. The gray tank, however, is typically more accurate. Yeah, you see that one went back down to empty. But at first it read 1/3. It's normal for them to misread too, but they are typically more accurate. Sure way to know if this is needing to be replaced or emptied, sorry, is if you've ran out of water. If you've ran your freshwater tank out of water, one, you'll definitely want to shut the water pump off if that happens. But two, when you run the fresh tank empty, that's about as much as you're going to fit into the gray tank. That's a great time to empty it, is when you're filling up your fresh water. Most gas stations that have a propane tank out front will also have a water faucet out front that you can hook your hose to and fill your motorhome up for free. They do not charge you for the water. Other than that, we do have curtains inside the motorhome. You just pull them down, push them up. If they drop down on you, it's probably because this string right here, has come undone from this attachment right here. This motorhome doesn't seem to have that problem yet, but they all eventually do develop that issue where sometimes you have to reattach the string, so it's no big deal. We do have screens in here. Obviously, in Alaska, that's kind of a big deal. You definitely want to use those. You just got to be gentle with them. They're very fragile. Let's see. If for whatever reason you need to access the electrical panel, it's right here by the bed. If a fuse is burnt out in this little black strip there on the right-hand side, you'll actually see a red light light up. You won't actually even have to open it or test any fuses. You can just look over there and be like, oh, there's a fuse out. I should replace that. We do have a garbage can down here for you guys. And a door that nobody ever uses. Sorry. We do have pantries, which are pretty useful. Apologize, that one wasn't vacuumed out yet. This one still needs to be cleaned up. And we do have the access to the bedroom closet through the mirror here. There's also a list right here that kind of tells you a bit more about the motorhome and the stuff it is equipped with, tank sizes, that sort of thing. Do have another light switch up underneath here. Underneath here, we have two things worth noting. We have an electrical outlet, and you have your liquid propane detector. So propane's heavy, it goes to the ground. If this thing starts chirping at you, one of two things has happened. Either it's smelling propane or some other strong smell. Cleaning supplies do set this off. If it does go off, there's a reset button. Reset button's right here in the top right corner. I know it's hard to see, But if you press and hold it, it'll stop beeping at you and give you the opportunity to see if it was just something that wasn't important to worry about. If you have a propane leak, you'll most likely smell it before that sensor goes off. And I think that's about everything worth mentioning on the motorhome. Oh, you know, I did lie. There's this little footlight right here. And there's a switch for it right here. You have your electrical awning right here. Your awning control. That's the one I forgot to tell you about. It's a very simple use. It's press out to go out. There are no locks. There are no weird safeties or anything like that. You can see there's a party light out there and a deck light too. Those light switch controls are right here. So once the awning is all the way out, you can adjust the awning right here. All you do is grab it and pull your hand down on it. And what you can do is you can slant it like this so that the rain comes off to the side and drains. This is not good to leave out in heavy rain unless it's slanted. If it starts pooling up in the middle of the awning here, it'll cause damage. You don't want that. If you notice that it is starting to pool, come over here, make sure there's nothing in the way, and just go ahead and pull this arm down. And then all the water will run off to the side and not damage the awning. Before you put the awning back, make sure this arm is kind of straight. Obviously not perfectly straight, but not nearly as bent as what it was. Two things to watch out for. You can see my camper door has been damaged right here and right here. That is because the door was too far open and it made contact with the awning. So you want to make sure that the door is slightly closed. And to close the awning, you just hit the awning in button. Again, there are no locks, there are no safeties. It just slowly rolls itself back in. Please note that if you have it all the way out and you press the out button some more, it'll actually roll the awning back in backwards. When you do that, you really won't notice it until it goes closed all the way here, and it won't close all the way. So you want to make sure that you reel it back in the correct way. This is what the awning arm should look like when it is fully closed. And that is everything that I have to share about the 2017 Thor Chateau. If you have any questions that I did not answer in this video, or if you simply have something you want to clarify, please call me. My cell phone number is 907-952-4317. Texting works really well as well. You definitely don't want to drive this into a car wash or a drive-through. You're going to need at least 13 to 14 feet of clearance to not hit the air conditioning unit on the top. So anything with a roof over it, other than a gas station, is not advisable to drive underneath. Again, you're going to need 13 to 14 foot of clearance to not have any damage done to the roof on this thing. Thank you.